Hello and welcome to the Perth Blue Baggers pod. My name is Louis, your host.
And I'm Marty on special comments.
Today we will be reviewing our dramatic loss against Richmond in round one, and we'll be previewing our must-win clash with Hawthorn. So, let's get into it. So, a little bit of an overall assessment on round one.
Well, it was a nice, enjoyable match until about 15 minutes into the second quarter.
Mm-hmm.
And then we proceeded to play some of the worst football I've seen in a hell of a long time. Really, to cough up a 41-point lead against a team who only won 2 games for the whole of 2024 and had traded away many of their stars during the off-season was just atrocious. And I suppose as many of us and some of our listeners have been watching the lowlights, I won't call them highlights, of that game being played on loop and wondering what the hell was going on. For me, you don't cough up a lead that big without a complete lack of composure. There was a lot of poor decisions and poor execution, and I think they'll be spending a lot of time reviewing that game because they need to get things right for next week.
Oh, boy, they better. That has meant that in our past 12 matches, we've only won 2. And that was against West Coast and North Melbourne.
Well, I think you do have to, though, put the matches in 2024 out of mind.
Yeah.
It's a new season. It's a new start. We've been training in pre-season all the way through, working on some new things, got some new approaches, etc. New fitness team, all that kind of stuff. There's always some players you lose, some players you get in, etc. So I take this as one loss. I'm not getting not overreacting to it.
Yeah.
But I think there are some disturbing signs that we've got to address.
Yeah, for sure. So that means we get into our 5-4-3-2-1 votes.
I guess, Paddy Cripps did have a great game. It wasn't his fault that we lost. He had a game-high 32 possessions. He'd still fought it out, even when the game wasn't going our way. And that's often a good sign. He spent time in the ruck. He won a game-high 9 clearances, 5 tackles. I mean, he had a pretty good all-round game. If we won, it'd be a certain 3 votes. I'm not sure, but I'd expect him to be in the Brownlow votes.
Yeah.
TDK was really good. I think the 28 possessions that he got was his all-time high.
Yeah, career high.
And that's a lot for a ruckman. Yeah, that's pretty good. And 18 of those 28 were contested, which is a high rate. He topped the most. He had the most inside 50s on the ground. So, overall, it's a poor team performance. But I think he played well. Cripps played well, and I think there's one other guy who played exceptionally well, and that's Jacob Wettering. He was once again impenetrable down back, complete wall. He definitely had the better of Tom Lynch, who was certainly their best forward by reputation. He had 14 intercept possessions, which is by far the most on the ground.
Yeah.
He played really well. He repelled attack after attack. He showed a lot of composure when there were others that didn't.
Yes.
So, look, they were the 3 standouts. I think then there was probably a gap to the others, but I thought Georgie Hewitt was still pretty good. 25 disposals, 8 tackles, 3 clearances, tried hard for much of the game. And I'm going to give, that's 2 votes. I'm going to give 1 vote to JSOS.
Yeah.
So Jack Savani, his first game back since 2023. So he hadn't played for a long time. He worked quite hard in defence. I thought he was held up pretty well. Kicked a goal late when it was thrown forward. 4 tackles, 8 marks. I think most of us would probably agree he had a reasonable game.
Yeah.
And it's going to take some time for him to be back at his absolute best. But one thing Savani gives you is effort. And that's probably a thing that lacking at times. Underrated. I don't know if he's completely underrated, but he is brand new. Of the debutantes, and there were 3 of them, Lucas Camporelli really stood out.
Yeah.
It's not bad to get 20 possessions in your first game. Amongst the leading possession getters, 5 tackles. He really had a red hot crack at it.
Yeah.
Which is the most you can ask for.
True. I'll quickly go into mine. They vary mostly in order. Jacob Wearing for my 5 votes, because I reckon he was able to keep us in the game by keeping them without with limiting the margin from blowing out. TDK was impressive. He was challenged by Nankervis at times, but his work rate and impact around the ground were undeniable. And I got Patrick Cripps for 3 votes. He'll probably get the Brownlow votes. Just think Wheaters and TDK had a bit more of an influence. Jack Silvani for 2 votes. 16 disposals, a goal, very critical goal to get us back into it. 8 marks, 6 score involvements, 4 intercepts, 9 1%ers and 4 tackles. He was able to compete in the air and at the ground. And then Adam Chera, I was trying to think of who to give it to the last one. The last one was kind of hard to give to. He had 16 first half disposals. And then he finished with 26, 12 contested possessions, 5 score involvements, 5 clearances, 6 tackles, and 29 pressure acts. So the 29 pressure acts seem to suggest that he put on pressure probably in the second half as well. Yeah, he did fade, but that was similar to the rest of the team.
Yeah, well, I think that was probably the story of the match. Many of the players having a solid first quarter and a half and then really disappearing. So I think that was really disappointing. Look, the one other guy I thought that was pretty good when he came on quite late was Sam Doherty.
Yeah.
You know?
There was one little slip up, I remember, with a handball, but it wasn't as much as some other players.
I mean, given he only came on really late as the sub, I think he had a fair bit of impact. I wouldn't be surprised if he starts this time round. So, I think there'll be some people that drop out because of this performance. That there really has to be.
Yeah.
There are some people still coming back. I mean, we might get Curnow back. Who knows?
I think that's very likely.
You know?
This is filmed on the Sunday night, by the way.
Yeah, so we don't have the team out yet, but hopefully...
Or injury news.
Or injury news. I mean, I didn't hear any injury.
No, that's one positive to come out from that night. One positive, and it's always something that we always look for.
Yeah, well, at this club,
Yeah.
There's always a bit of nervousness around that. Yeah, so I expect him to probably come back in. And probably the other one is Fantasia, who probably replace Francis Evans. He got a goal early, but didn't have a big impact really on the game.
No, it was a lucky goal, just set up for him on the ground.
Yeah, so I wouldn't say he probably wouldn't get picked next week, but I guess we'll see. Look, probably just a few things on the game day tactics. Voss went in the game. He probably just had the one ruck with TDK, and I think that worked well. As was predicted, Silvani started down back and Kemp up forward. Yeah. Kemp was really lively early, but I do think he could have hit the scoreboard better.
Something that some people haven't remarked on is he did have some injury concern, but I think he's all good now. But because he came back on, but maybe that sort of knocked him off a bit. I don't know.
We had 3 new players in Nick Haynes, Lucas Camprielli and Francis Evans. I think, like I said earlier, Camprielli had a great game. I think Evans will probably make way for Fantasia. Look, and the other one, Nick Haynes, there's been a bit of hate for Nick Haynes.
Copped a lot of it.
Look, he didn't have a great second half, and there were some poor, disposals, and he went to ground at one time, which was a bit incomprehensible in one contest. But look, it's his first game for the club, and we are really desperate for key defenders, and I think he's going to get more opportunities, and I think he'll grow. He'll find his place. I mean, he was good against GWS in the practice match, so he showed a bit. We know that he can play. I think he just. He wasn't alone in lacking composure, I think, in that second half.
Yeah.
He had a lot of friends.
McGovern and some other players made some stupid mistakes, especially McGovern's that soccer off the ground that went straight to one of the Richmond players with a shot on goal and they get it. That was not a good sight.
Yeah, that was really disappointing.
I don't think we should judge Nick Haynes on one game. And say been some comments I've seen around the place suggesting to delist him already. Like,
it's silly.
it's
the fans have got to be a bit more patient than that.
And don't blame it on the membership team, calling into the membership team and then blasting them for the performance, or hanging over the fence and shouting when they go down into the rooms. That was not acceptable.
Yeah, no, look, all of us were disappointed by the performance, but it's the players are doing their best, and I think they can turn it around. Look, we'd be happy with a really spirited effort and an effort this week against a quality team that's in form.
Yeah.
It's about flying the flag, I think, and that doesn't mean punch-ups. That means effort, that means contesting the ball, that means a lot of pressure acts, means two-way running, it means all of those sorts of things.
Yeah.
If we see that, I think we'll be happy, and we know that there'll be some errors that come out of it. It is also, you might have done a pre-season, and you might have done all the different training loads, but until you're playing match games, it's never quite the same.
Yeah, there's the crowd atmosphere, and that probably has affected Nick Haynes because he's never played in a 80k game apart from maybe a final. If he played that 2023 prelim against Collingwood, maybe.
I think cool heads need to prevail. We expect that there'll be some changes, but really, I think that we just need to look ahead to the Hawthorn game.
Yeah. Anything you'd like to say about that Hawthorn game? Any changes you can think of the top of your head?
Well, like I said, I think Fantasia and Kerno come back in. I think they're the two obvious ones. I'd expect there to be 2 to 3 changes, and that's probably it. I don't think, I said, you don't overreact to these things. It's got to be proportional. Look, the Hawthorn game, we know we're going to be up against it. We saw them beat Sydney in Sydney. And then, of course, they comfortably beat Essendon. They finished last season strongly. They've recruited well.
Yeah.
Look, they're going to be tough to beat. They also tend to match up pretty well against us quite a lot. And we all remember last season where that was when the wheels really fell off after quarter time against them. We just were atrocious, and we had 4 or 5 serious injuries at the same time. So everything went wrong that particular day. I think you put that out of the mind. It's 2025. It's a new season. I think we want to see them compete. I don't think it was a case of structure this time.
Yeah.
I think it was actually poor execution and poor decision-making and lack of composure that was more the issue in that second half.
I think can be corrected easier than structurally.
Yeah, that's right. Well, if you've got structure takes time to fix. I think we all want to see them go back to that sort of high-pressure, high-octane game. And I think that we need to move the ball quickly and put them under pressure.
Yeah. Well, that's probably the biggest feature of Hawthorn is their quick ball movement.
Well, the only thing is they'll hurt us unless we get numbers back. I think that's really the crucial part.
Yeah.
So, look, it's a daunting task when you've just blown a lead against a team like Richmond, but I think it's probably not a bad thing to have a test like that.
I think we might need to go a bit small to counteract some of their small forwards. Hopefully like Nick Watson and Jack Ginnivan, and because they only really have one tool and Chol, I think.
So who would you be bringing into the team?
Boyd, if he's fit. There's been a bunch of controversy about him in this preseason because we haven't seen him in any of the practice matches. So I think he needs to come in. And will it be at the expense of, Kemp or something like that? Or McGovern?
Look, I think Kemp's position could be in jeopardy if Curno's coming back. I mean, there's only so many tools you need, probably. And if you are trying to go short, that's something you'd look at, I think.
Because that's 3 tools, I think.
Yeah, it would be
in
3
defence
tools.
Or sort of thing.
We've already got 3 tools in defence anyway, in Wiedering, Haynes and McGovern.
Yeah.
And JSOS can play tall if he really needs to too. So, you don't need any more tools down there.
I think it needs to be 2-4, maybe.
Yeah. Well, I think think a bit of extra speed would go down well and would be handy, and that probably probably means Cooper Lloyd might keep his spot otherwise. I expect Doherty to be under strong consideration though to come in.
Yeah.
So, given how well he played as a sub, and I think he's the kind of guy that really does look after his fitness well. So I don't think there'd be any trouble with him running out the 4 quarters.
Yeah.
Yeah, so a tough game, but not impossible. Should be a good match. I'm looking forward to it. Opportunity to put that behind us and bounce back strongly.
Yes.
And do you have a prediction?
Look, I will go with my footy tips. I will tip Hawthorn to safeguard my position and all that. Not that it's really that solid at the moment because it's only been 1 round. But I think we can win it. But if we do win it, it will be close. So within maybe a goal or 10 points. So I'll say by 4 points we win. Carlton Blues.
Blues by 10 points for me.
Any significant contributors?
Oh, look, I think, I'm going to back the big fella, Charlie, to bag a few goals. He's going to come back. He's going to test the defence.
Yeah.
They'll probably put James Sicily on him. Doesn't matter who they put on Charlie if he's really up and about.
Or Barras or Battle.
I think he'd outrun Barras. I reckon they'll probably put Sicily on him.
Yeah.
It will be a good contest because Sicily's one of the best in the business.
Yeah. And then Sicily also can go forward. So better be watchful for that. See what Voss does to counteract that. Also, on the subject of Voss, some people are already calling for him to be sacked and whatever. I don't think that's a good assumption this early in the season.
I think that's silly.
It's just stupid, these people that come up with things.
Oh, that's silly. It's round 1.
I know, right?
Round 1, people.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I think that'll do us.
Well, look forward to it. So let's suit up against those Hawks.
Yeah.
And round 2, and let's bounce back. Let's fly the flag, and let's show them what we're made of.
Yes. Thank you for tuning in. Make sure you subscribe, like, and follow us on Instagram. And we'll see you next week. Up the Baggers.
Calm the Blues.